Think we're gonna call this story time. Yep, that'll be the title. We'll just call this story time. How do you respond when your friends give you good news? Like, what's your reaction? Are you one of these poor reactions? Like when you open up a present, are you one of these people that when you open the present, you're just kind of like, and then you just go, you know? Or do you have like an exuberant, like my 7-year-old, how she responds to open a present, just, happiness? How do you respond? What we're looking at here today is a series of stories that give us heaven's response to redemption, to salvation. And the stories are very illuminating. You come to Luke chapter 15, verse 1, and here we have a scene painted for us. It says, now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near him, Jesus, to listen to him. Notice who it said there, though, the tax collectors and the sinners. These are like kind of visibly, these are considered like the worst people in Jewish society at the time. And they're all coming near. They want to hear what he has to say. The Pharisees, who are already jealous of his success and all the attention he gets, they and the scribes, kind of a subset of the Pharisees, began to grumble, naturally. Began to grumble, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. So Jesus' response to that is to now give them some stories, some parables. You know the parables. But let me spin a different kind of yarn here for you for a moment. If you have a good friend, or supposedly a good friend, and they call you and they're like, dude, I can't find my car. I have no idea where it is. I don't know where I parked it. I don't know. It's not in the garage. It's not in the driveway. It's not on the street. I don't know where my car is. You know, there's a movie about this, but don't watch it. But anyway, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to try to help them. You're going to pray for them, right? You're going to ask them questions. You're going to try to help them along the way. Let's say you don't get there. Let's say you live far enough away. I have friends around the country. Let's say it's a friend in North Carolina or something like that calls me and says, dude, I cannot find my car. I don't know where it's at. Well, I'm not going to drive down there and help him, but I would ask him some questions. Let's say he calls me back 5-6 hours later, and he's like, I found my car. Okay, what am I going to respond like? What would be a natural response if I actually care about my friend? Would it be like, well, I figured you'd find it. You know, I mean, he's exuberant that he's found this thing. Well, exaggerate it a little bit further. Have you ever lost maybe it's not exaggerated, but have you ever lost a password to a very important account? Just this last year, I lost password information for a government account thing. I called the government office that I was dealing with on this. I called them to try to figure out what I had to do to retrieve the password. They said it was going to take anywhere from 5 to 14 business days and to get a new password, to get this new thing set up, and it could take more than 18 working business days to get the account up and running and reset again. 18 days. And that's just business days. So you're looking at like a month before this can be set up. And I was a bit frantic. I had no idea where the passwords were. I had no idea where to find. I'm an airhead and I'm kind of like this, so I couldn't find it anywhere. I came to my office a day later after fretting over it and being frustrated and irritated by the whole thing. I come into my office and I looked over at my bookshelf and there's a book there. And I kind of, all of a sudden something clicked in my brain and I went, I think I know where that code is. So I went over, grabbed the book, opened it up, and there's a little piece of paper with the password in it. Yes, it was dumb of me, but that's not the point. The point is I had lost something and it was driving me insane. I mean, racking my brain, checking everything I knew, couldn't find it anywhere. So what did I do when I found it? Well, first of all, I rejoiced. Second of all, I called my wife and we were elated together. It's like, I found it. Are you kidding? I thought it was gone. It was going to be a month. And anyway, I was sweating it. Seriously. If my wife would have responded with, yeah, I know you idiot. You should have done this, that, and the other. And I would have been like, wow, you are just not on my team here. Right? You're not much of a friend in this issue. I'm rejoicing, I'm thrilled, and you don't really seem to care. Well, let's say now, let's use a third story. Let's say you have a friend who has children who have walked away from Christ. They have a child who doesn't care about the things of God, doesn't care about church or the people of God, and they've been gone for a while, and their heart is broken over that child. And they're waiting year after year. You're with them in prayer over the matter, or at least you seem to be, and you've heard their heart break over this issue. And then one day they call, or one day they show up to your house and they say, I've got good news. My son, who was lost, has come home. And they are just beside themselves with the joy of this returning child. Now, if you're even remotely their friend, how do you respond to this wonderful news? What do you think? What do you imagine you would do in response? I mean, they're jumping up and down on your front porch. Are you just going to turn your head, kind of shut the door and walk away? Well, that's kind of the story we get. That's the three-part story that we get. We get three different parables from Jesus. It's the story of a lost sheep, a lost coin, and a lost son that are in Luke chapter 15. But the point that is being driven home as we go through the passage is, how is it that those who are on the same team as God going to respond to the news of sinners coming home, of sinners being redeemed from their filth and their muck? How does heaven respond to that? Exuberant, overjoyed, cheering in parties. How do the Pharisees respond to that? And those who are in opposition, the scribes right here in this text, there's no rejoicing from them. In fact, what you see at the end of the story of the prodigal son is the hard-hearted, cold response from that older brother seeing his younger brother come back home. That's the story in a nutshell of what's happening in chapter 15. This man, Christ Jesus, received tax collectors, some of the worst in their society. They were considered traitors. They were considered turncoats. They were wealthy, but they were looked at as scum in their society. They were looked at as those who were beneath them at this point, and they were beyond help, beyond redemption. They were untouchable by the people who were righteous themselves, or so they thought. And the other sinners that they interacted with, that Jesus interacted with, just were beneath them. Their response to these people is to think, why in the world would God save them? Why in the world would Jesus give them any attention, is what they're really thinking. They don't see Jesus as God. But why in the world, if this man is actually from God, would he give them the time of day? What an inverted worldview from us. What do we look to? Who do we pay attention to? If you've got a big enough public profile, even in Christianity, if you've got enough followers if you've got 200,000 followers on Instagram or TikTok or something, or Twitter or something like that, then all of a sudden people pay attention to you and act like you matter. People that are higher up than you. But if you're nothing and you're nobody in their eyes, generally we don't pay attention to such people. But look how God comes to us. Look in the way in which he doesn't view people as though this person is special and this person is not. He disseminates the word, the gospel, and lets us come. Lets sinners come. And he treats them the same. What a remarkable God we serve. And then in the coming weeks, what I would like to do is to look at each one of those stories, those three different stories. But for now, I just want to give you the overview and remind you of the joy that heaven has over one sinner coming home. I hope you're that sinner that's come home, and you can rejoice with me. I'll see you another time.